Many thanks for joining us today. Take me through, you conduct studies to understand consumer behavior and consumption demand. Take me through the survey that you've done this time. How is sentiment and mood looking ahead of Diwali?
So this is a survey done on 4,000 consumers, which is essentially the urban middle class consumers. And we reach out to 18 cities, which are metros, tier 1 and tier 2. And the sentiment is evolving out to be kind of recovering. It is better compared to 2012, 2013 pre-Diwali season.
Sure.
So this build-up happens between June to September of every year.
Sure.
And the growth rate in our index, or willingness to spend on durables, automobiles or real estate that we have seen in June to September of 2014 appears better than what we saw in 12 or 13.
Sure. You're saying if you compare to the pre-Diwali week in comparison to 13 and 12 is far better.
That's right.
And this is willingness to spend.
Yes.
What is this backed by? Is this backed by better confidence as far as job situation is concerned and wages are concerned?
Yes. So the survey is based on three essential elements. What is the consumers thinking about the overall economic health? What they think about employment conditions, and what they think about inflation and borrowing comfort. So although inflation sentiment is still in the very negative areas, but then we have seen a very distinct improvement, especially after the new government took over, in the sentiment on possible recovery in employment conditions and household income. Now that is the prime driver of this rise in willingness to spend across these discretionary items.
So let me break this up there, Deb. Let's talk about durables first. You actually have created three separate indices. The Durable Purchase Sentiment Index that you've done over 18 cities. What does that say? Okay,
this is the sentiment to spend on home appliances as well as personal gadgets, which is laptops and phones. And there has been a small improvement in absolute sense, but if you look at the growth rate compared to 11 and 12, this is compared to 12 and 13, this is significantly high. So what we are essentially saying is there's a rise in number of consumers who are planning to spend on home appliances as well as personal electronics in the next 6-month time frame, which includes the Diwali period as well.
Sure. Let's now look at real estate. On one hand, while I take your point about durables, because you are seeing quite a bit of offtake of mobile phones or whatever. I mean, at least if you look at what's happening in the online space. But real estate, you're really not seeing too much movement. Every day, real estate industry, you're seeing reports of how houses are not moving. Yet you say that the consumption sentiment seem to improve.
Yes, that was surprising. We have been seeing a steady recovery in plans to purchase homes among urban middle class. And maybe this is being driven by all the announcements regarding affordable housing. People were just waiting to purchase a home, but due to the absurdly high prices, that was a very high entry barrier. But if affordable housing really kicks up, we see good amount of demand to be coming from cities, especially Mumbai, Bangalore, even Mangalore, Hyderabad and Delhi.
Sure. And the final one is on vehicle purchase sentiment. This will be music to the industry, to the auto industry's ears, which has been struggling for a while. There you're seeing a dichotomy. You saw the two-wheeler sales pick up considerably ahead of four-wheelers. Four-wheelers are still sort of finding their feet. You're seeing an uptick here as well.
Yes. So what happened was in 2012, I was in a competitive channel, and I was participating in a debate with the head of marketing for a renowned auto company. And I was being bashed because I was the only research house who was saying that this 2012 Diwali is going to be a disaster for auto, because the consumers since February has been pointing out to the fact that they have no plans to spend.
Sure.
Come November, and when the CM numbers for 2012 November came out, everyone knew what the facts were. 2013 was pretty much the same. We saw the consumer sentiment to spend on automobiles to remain subdued. However, 2014, since April, there has been a distinct improvement in plans to spend on both two-wheelers and four-wheelers. And we are expecting this to culminate into actual sales over the next 2 to 3 months.
So you're actually expecting sales for automobiles to improve because of this uptrend. Just one point though, are there pockets of India which feel a lot better than the others?
Absolutely, there are pockets.
In the overall universe that you've surveyed?
Yes.
Which would they be?
In case of auto, so the pockets are different for different types of commodities. In case of auto, metros and tier 3 cities go hand in hand. Metros, we are seeing a pickup in plans to spend on four-wheelers, especially cities like Bombay and Bangalore. While in tier 2 cities like Patna and Guwahati, etc., there is a steady pickup in plans to spend on two-wheelers. However, in the tier 1 cities, which are primarily driven by the manufacturing sector, demand is not that significantly high.
You're not capturing any of the online action, are you?
No. So this rise is in the entire consumer spending. Whether it will be coming from online or through brick and mortar sales is something we cannot comment on.
Let's ask that question to Rakesh Biyani, who knows a thing or two about online. Mr. Biyani, you've really, recently announced your tie-up with Amazon. Why the need to work with them? Did you feel that you would be compromising on volumes if you didn't have any sort of online relationship?
Well, the relationship and tie-up is more of the long term, and it's a more of a strategic partnership where we intend to work together on our product side and our product creating capabilities, assortment creation capabilities, and using the Amazon technology, Amazon knowledge bank, Amazon fulfillment services that they are offering to sellers in India. I think it's a very good partnership. It's a partnership bringing two people together and trying to evaluate how the consumers will start behaving over the years. It's early days on e-commerce. There's a very long journey left to be done, and I think one has to have an open mind and working together as we discover new sets of customers across the country. So we are going to continue investing in our own omni-channel platform, which we have already announced, and there's a lot of exciting things that we have on hand, which we will roll out over the next 6 months. So I think there are exciting times, and I think if you really look at the promise of India with the kind of growth that we are projecting for the future in the next 4-5 years, the kind of new customers that will get added to the consumption space, the kind of demand that can get created. I think simply focusing yourself only on new demand that is going to come up is just good enough. So it's not about eating into each other's channels. It's about discovering new channels, discovering new marketplaces, using technology as another mechanism of discovering channels and marketplaces. So I think it's very exciting times, and working strategically together with some of the leaders who have done it very well in the past, it's got to be a great experience. We have our set of expertise, others have their expertise, and that's what the entire partnership is all about.
Sure. Yeah. So tell me, what kind of increase in sales are you anticipating through the online channels and because of this partnership?
I don't have any projection or a number. It will be, as I said, it's in early stages of the e-commerce evolution in India. Sounds very exciting. There's a lot of media coverage. There's a lot of presence in media. There's a lot of mind share which is getting created. But it's a very small segment. Now, I think it's anybody's guess in terms of what share it will get created. But even if you look at, let's say, a global context, where it ranges anything between 10% to 16% of the total consumption space, and if the consumption in India is, let's say, $600 or $700 billion, at least 60-70 billion or maybe $100 billion of that in the next few years could come out of an e-commerce platform. But I would say that, really the story is about, how is the next $400 billion of consumption that's going to get catered to? What share of it will get occupied by the various channels which are on offer? What is the product strategy that you do? What is the distribution strategy? So I think those are more important as an approach rather than trying to define number. The reality is that we have very low consumption today across every product category.
Right.
We have a very large population, and there is a promise, the fact that we will continue to grow, which means the fact that we will keep adding more customers into the consumption space. Clearly, this is all about catering to their needs. So I would say I don't have any specific numbers to share right now, but it's a promising space. I'm sure we will try and take as much share as possible on our own, along with our strategic partnerships.
That's an interesting point. I was just looking at the index that you put out as well. And I understand this is just over 4,000 customers, right? Yeah. 4,000 customers. But look at the areas where you're actually seeing an uptick. Mangalore, Lucknow. I mean, these are smaller, relatively smaller cities. This is not Bangalore or Mumbai or Delhi. My question is, you're seeing so much of pent-up demand. Is it right to say there is pent-up demand, at least if online sales were an indication to go by? Would this be a gradual, the consumer gradually coming back, or do you think there is enough waiting out there?
Well, absolutely. There is a lot of pent-up demand in the economy right now, and consumers have been waiting for some time for the economy to improve, inflation to come down, and for borrowing comfort to improve.
Sure.
Our index is also suggesting now that their borrowing comfort 12 months down the line is, as an index, is going up. So they are expecting
borrowing comfort.
That's right.
Okay, that is basically you can go and raise debt or raise a loan.
That's right. So borrowing comfort in the sense that whether they are willing to take a loan to purchase a vehicle or a TV or a phone.
Right.
So which is
or a home.
Or a home, absolutely. So that is a function of prevailing interest rates and the ease of getting money from banks. So borrowing comfort had been at a very low level even till April of this year compared to the levels we've seen in 11 or 12.
Sure.
But there has been a steady improvement, and consumers feel that 6 months, 8 months down the line, borrowing comfort is going to improve, and I'm going to open my purse strings, and I'm going to purchase expensive discretionaries for which there was a demand, but I was not purchasing.
Sure. I'm just going to push that a little further, Deb. So are you saying if your borrowing comfort is getting better, this is obviously a function of jobs, people are getting a lot more confident about their own existing jobs, inflation coming off, interest rates being relatively stable. So what is the inference that you make because of borrowing comfort getting better?
The inference from a consumer standpoint is consumers are seeing that inflation is going to get better from this point, and there is a high probability of rates coming down, and anyways they are seeing a rise in household income. So these are the three factors which has culminated today into a rise in borrowing comfort sentiment, as well as which is feeding into their rise in willingness to spend.
So wages, inflation, interest rates, the environment is conducive for consumption to start, is the point that you're making.
The cycle is moving now.
I'm running out of time, Mr. Biyani. I have one final question, and this I want to sort of shift focus back to the online space. Do you see coexistence with online and offline, that is brick and mortar stores? Do you see them eating into your shares?
Oh, completely. That's no doubt in my mind. I think India, it's a new phenomena, but in various other parts of the world, where it's been 10 years to 15 years, where e-commerce has existed, not only has e-commerce as pure e-commerce existed, but also brick and mortar stores adopting e-commerce as an integral part of the strategy have coexisted all the while, and both are really catering to the expansion in the market, right? So I have not come across cases where one survives and the other doesn't. Yes, there have been some categories where it's a lot more easier to deliver products through the electronic medium, and that's definitely happens. I think books and audio, etc. Those are categories, but there's more to do also with the way the technology is evolved in the consumer space. So if you keep anything which can be electronically delivered, the rest of those products and the needs of the consumers, coexistence is always going to be there.